Hey guys, in this interview today, I will talk to my friend Rob Cook. Before Rob transitioned into coaching, he served in the US military in the Air Force, where he became a highly decorated combat veteran, traveled the world, and held several high profile positions. Through his mentor and close friend Michael Neill, Rob was introduced to the three principles and became a certified transformative coach in Michael's Supercoach Academy. And this background serves Rob to find the ideal balance between the formless and the form. Also, Rob founded unFIT, where he offers a fresh approach how to unlock your health from the inside out. And nowadays, he coaches one-on-one. He is engaged as a speaker for startups, for nonprofits, for Fortune 500 companies, and everything in between. And I'm really looking forward to our conversation today, in which we are going to talk about art, about music, about how art and music are related to the three principles and this inner space of well-being, of inner peace, and how we can all access this space at any given time. Yeah, welcome, Rob, to our conversation today about probably music, art, mental health, mental well-being, and many other topics that probably our conversation will lead us to.
Absolutely. We always go everywhere.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And the way we met was on the Three Principles conference, so a conference about a certain understanding in the field of, you could say, psychology or spirituality.
Yeah, that would be a good one. Yeah.
And I joined a call or like a talk by Rob and got in contact with him afterwards. And since then, we met a few times and had a lot of really interesting conversations about music, about art, about coaching, about life. And the idea of this podcast today was to share something of this with you, the listener, or when you're on YouTube, the watcher.
Yeah.
And I always like to start with the question, what art or music is in your life, what kind of role it plays in your life.
No, super cool question. And one, again, thank you for, asking me to be here today. I always I don't take it for granted, rather, when people have programs or messages in which they want to share with the world, they like to partner with me and help and express that. So I never take that for granted. So my appreciation to you for that. The question of music, man, honestly, I had no clue how big of an impact music had made in my life, because it was just background noise for the first, 40 years maybe. Always liked it, always moved to it, always grooved with it, but no real interest in learning anything about it other than a few artist names here and there. And recently, when the pandemic in America started, uh, my younger brother, who was going through some very bad times, and then my youngest stepson, who was going through some very bad times, and also my cousin, actually, who's in the music field, was dealing with a few different things as well. And as a coach, obviously, I wanted to help.
Yeah.
But what I really found out in coaching is I don't do well coaching in areas that I got a lot of weight on.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a lot of weight on the way I love my family. And so it ends up sometimes becoming more of a me telling them what to do than pointing them to their own resilience, because I love them and I just want them to have the best. And so I really was looking for a way not to be coachy with three people that I love. And it hit me that, wait, all three of them love music. What if I let them teach me about music? And we would just spend this time together. And so I called my cousin and was like, hey, I want to start making beats. He was like, what? I was like, I just want to start making beats. And he was like, why? I was like, I don't know. And so he sent me out and I got my first MIDI. And then he sent me a bunch of YouTube videos to watch. And then I got my little brother on the phone and then my stepson on Zoom. And next thing you know, man, this became a thing. And I started meeting regularly with them. I started learning more about it. And then it kind of became my own passion, where I started seeing music in the world. I started seeing the ripple effect music had in healing. I started seeing what was possible through music. And so it became cool to start playing with it from there. And still learning how to structure beats, how to structure songs, things like that. But the role it's currently playing for me right now is a very nice vehicle to drive my understanding or this understanding, the three principles, which I share to the community and to the masses. And just for clarification, because I know everybody who listens may not understand or know what the three principles are. The three principles, in my best guess or way to explain, is when the psychology world meets the spiritual world. It's the most balanced place I've ever found where psychology and spirit can dance. And what I gathered them to mean, Sydney Banks, the originator of this understanding, saw that the human experience was three main principles and everything else can be summed up within one of those three. He had very more elaborate and detailed descriptions of them. I'll just tell you mine. Mind is what I believe to be the universal creative life form. It's the things that make everything around us alive. So that it puts the oxygen on earth for us to breathe. It lets the sun gives us the rays that we need. It provides, it holds the water in place. I mean, it's literally the creative force behind life. Some people attribute it or say God. Some people say the now. Some people say Buddha. Some people say Allah. I don't choose now a lane and willing to point fingers and fight on which one of those is right, because I understand at the essence we're talking about the same thing, the universal life form in which governs our life. So that's what I mean when I say mind. It's the oneness. It's what makes all of us human beings. When I say thought, I believe that is the duality. That is my ability to take my experiences. That's my ability to know that you, George, while we are in mind, human beings in one, because we are human beings having an experience, there is a difference in between us. Right? That difference isn't for me, though, to judge you. It's for me to marvel at the beauty of, again, this mind, because you express it much differently than I do. All right. And so that's what I think mind is. I think that's what thinking is. It's our only creative power we have to bring something from this formless energy into form. Yeah. So the keyboards behind you, the microphones, any of that, somebody thought of it in their mind, formless energy, and went through a process of actions to bring it out so that the world could benefit from it. Yeah. So that's what I mean when I say thinking. And consciousness, being the third principle, is just my awareness of which one I'm operating in. So what do I mean by that, or how it works for me? If I find myself in a full-blown argument with somebody, I know I'm stuck in thinking because I've yet to remember that we're the same, which is the oneness. So once I start noticing I'm in this argument, I just know what state I'm in, and I then start trying to fall into a oneness. If I meet somebody that I've never met before and we just click and we can't explain the energy, similar to the one we had, and you can't explain the energy behind it and the the connection or the attraction, then I know I'm operating in oneness, and that gives me a freedom to start thinking about what would create from this point. So case in point, it was the oneness that me and you had as learning about each other through our few conversations. That became a very safe place for us to be We both had some insights throughout those conversations.
Yeah, a lot.
Well, that yielded us to start thinking about a way that we could do something more together.
Yeah.
We came up with the idea of this podcast. We came up with the idea of the party that we're going to talk about, and that's it. You know, that's it for me. It's the awareness of when I'm operating in a oneness, or when the awareness of me operating in duality. And I don't think either one is wrong, as long as I'm able to flow through them with as many or as least amount of obstacles or barriers as possible.
Yeah.
So that was a pretty long answer, but that's what music and the principles are for me. And it was that understanding that took me to, okay, when you really want to help somebody and meet them so-called where they are, you find something that they love. And if you could just get into the space with them there, you'll get some glimpses into their world. So I know those three men loved music. And so I just got into their world. And now I have a passion. I've started taking classes on music now. It comes up in so many different other conversations. You know, it's already platformed in before finishing that to going and buy, I don't know if you can see the other MIDI back here, a DJ MIDI now. You know, because it's like not just the music. Now I want to mix it. Now I want to play with it. Now I want to vibe out. I mean, and being that you're an amazing DJ and Honey D's amazing DJs, it's kind of like I got people I can look at and see, you know, what it does. So yeah, man, it's been a joy to play with this and to explore it, you know.
I love that. And yeah, I also love the way how you explained the three principles. And I think the last time we spoke, you said, to even make it more short, like mind is oneness, thought is duality, and consciousness is about
awareness between the two. Yeah.
Awareness between the two, like the awareness of in which one you're operating right now.
That's it. Super simple, super short. Oneness, duality, and the awareness of which one you're operating in.
Yeah. And I think, you know, music is a beautiful way to get back to this unity, to this oneness, and like to forget our all-day life thinking for a moment, or just like drop out of it and drop back into this unlimited space.
Oh yeah. Especially in the creative process. I now can feel more in a song than I ever could before, because I'm listening for the space that the singer is operating from or performing from.
Yeah.
Not what they're saying. And or even how a musician plays a song. You know, it's super cool. Like some days I come in here and I can hit my notes properly, and some days I can't. But it's never because of the keyboard, because the keyboard's the same. You know, it's usually the weight I have in my hands from what weight I have on my mind.
Yeah.
You know, it's not the keyboard. And luckily with digital music, I could just move it up an octave, but it's not like that with live playing and things like that. But yeah, I just see how music, the finished product, is one thing, but man, the space that it comes from to create the music is something totally different. And that magic, if people can get a glimpse of it, that it's all about the space in which certain behaviors come from, that makes all the difference. Most people say it's kind of like the intent. And maybe that may be a good word, but for me, it's just like the space. Like if I could start from light and love in any way that I have to show up as a human being, I'm probably more poised to have a less stressful, a less suffering and things like that, in my opinion, at least.
Yeah. I totally agree. And I think, you know, like music and the principles have a lot of things in common in a way. You know, both are like universal languages that everybody can understand.
Mm-hmm.
Both are coming from like infinity, or like from the
Yeah,
infinite
for nothing. Yeah.
nothing.
It's everything coming from nothing. You know, that's yes, it's everything coming from nothing.
Yeah. And you know, a lot of jazz players say that when they improvise and when the improvisation is like really like full on and like really hitting the people, it almost feels like they are not playing it. It's like it is playing
Mm-hmm.
it through them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So they are so detached and so calm in their heads, in their brains, that they get like a channel
Mm-hmm.
where something can be expressed that comes from a bigger
Oh
space.
yeah, oh yeah. I love that, and I think you even told me this quote. Let me just to make sure I don't want to miss things, but you said it, like the Quincy Jones quote. You know what I'm talking
Yeah,
about? Yeah. What? Say that quote again, just so I don't mess it up. Oh, here, I found it. Go ahead.
he said like your music can never be more or less than you are as a human being.
Yes, that is what I am beginning to love about music, but it's also giving me a way to communicate that to life in general.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're only going to be, again, this is only my opinion and the way that I see it. You're only going to be as good in life as you are willing to let go and play being a human being.
Mm-hmm.
Like the same way, and something I love pointing people to, especially once they've seen it in the arts, whether it's a artist drawing or a musician playing or a songstress singing, is that space is afforded to you to make any decision. You
Mm-hmm.
can make the decisions about relationships from that space because it's pure, it's clean. You can make decisions about business from that space because it's pure, it's clean. You know, it's so cool when somebody gets lost in the notes and the tone and the songs and just ride. And that's how we could actually have or could be living life. You know, we could be living life that same way, that same flow, that same connection, that same listening for the sounds, hearing hearing the melodies, you know. Yeah, we could definitely do that.
I just had to think about a song that I really really like. It's called "A Song for You" by Donny Hathaway, and well, in the lyrics he sings, "Listen to the melody because my love is in there hiding."
Mm,
Mm-hmm.
I like that. That was his way of I like that. That's how he found his way to express his love
Yeah.
through the melody. Yeah. Yeah. Because I think I found my way of expressing love through any way that I can express it, if that makes sense. You know,
Yeah.
sometimes in conversation, sometimes in music, sometimes in speaking, sometimes in grocery shopping, sometimes in silence. You know, uh, I really just want to express the creativity and what is absolutely possible to you as a human being because you think, um, to the world so that we can open up these doors and see really what's possible. What we create if the level field was plain, or the level field was kind of level, or the playing field was leveled, to know that anything is possible, and we could do that together. I wonder what we would choose to do, you know. Like I got this thought in my head, man. I want like a similar to a We Are the World type thing, similar to a Live Aid. Like I want a global show of arts and music that anybody could tap in and hear something powerful and ride some way to less suffering, whether that's through a DJ playing a set, somebody singing a song, somebody making a beat, playing a beat, instruments. I just got this very, very big, I don't know, dream maybe or vision of something that's touching, almost oozing into every facet of the world. Because one of the things I remember about the Live Aid concert, I don't know if you know the one I'm talking about, but okay, you do, was that Queen played in one country at the beginning, hopped the plane while everybody else was still doing it, and finished the concert in a totally different country. Like that's berserks in itself. Like that's crazy in itself. But something like that, man, like where different people from all over the world at the same time are connected and all about this one thing of passing music through, and just see what happens from that. Like it's in my head, you know. So
I really love that. Yeah, especially if the musicians are in this place of, I would say, inner peace that we talked about.
yes, yeah, absolutely.
This is coming through.
I mean, the class actually, my last class I finished, I haven't locked on this week at all, but the last class we're up into now was about understanding what critique and feedback does to your music.
Mm-hmm.
And it was very interesting because they show you some artists who hear from like Pharrell or Clyde Davis or somebody like that feedback, and they take it as, oh my God, I'm not good enough. And then you see artists who can't wait to be told something because they take it and use it to change and to open it up a little bit more. So it's pretty interesting in studying that now and seeing, oh wow, that's pretty interesting all in itself. But then again, it proves what we talk about in the principles of, you know, everyone experiences is their own. Yeah. So what may make somebody not go for it could be the same sentence that makes 10 people go for it. The same, you know, no, neither one is inclusive of the other one. The same thing that makes 10 people go may not scare anybody, but it doesn't make it even better just because 10 people went. It was just what those, you know, they heard. And it just leaves this freedom, man, that you don't have to really judge. You know, we have genres for whatever reason there is, but music is music. You know, music is music. And though my genre may be hip hop and a genre may be country or a genre may be rock, keyboards, instruments, melodies, bass, all that's the same. Mm-hmm. We're just matching it up differently based on what experiences we have. You know? So I love music. I really do.
And I think that, you know, also music is a wonderful example that we can hear a piece of music completely different on one day or the other day, or that the context it's presented in.
Oh yeah.
And it's not the music that changed, but our perception of it and our thinking, we are filtering it through. And, you know, I thought that a question that somebody could ask himself while listening to our conversation is, okay, this space you're talking about, it sounds really cool, but how do I get there?
Yeah.
And how do I stay there?
Yeah. So
Did
again, back to
somebody ever ask you that?
in a way, in a roundabout way. I've heard it. Yeah, it's a great question. Because it does sound very abstract, very far away in a sense. But again, I'll use this particular way of explaining it because it's the best way I can. I believe human beings use one of many, but I kind of narrowed it down to about 5, 6 different things we use to describe ourselves. We're usually going to talk about our body. We're going to talk about maybe our career. We're going to talk about our preference. We're going to talk about an experience. And at some point, a diagnosis. So those are pretty much the ways people identify themselves. Hey, Joyce, tell me a little bit about yourself. Or, hey, Rob, tell me a little bit about yourself. Well, I'm a guy who grew up in the inner city. Okay, well, that's where I'm from. I didn't choose to grow up there. That's where I was born. So that's why I am. So that's not really me, but I've used that to identify myself. I'm Black. Well, again, I had no choice on that. When I came out by virtue of who my parents were, so I didn't have no choice on that. So that really isn't me. Like, again, I didn't have a choice on that. I been clinically diagnosed with PTSD. True. But that didn't happen until the diagnosis before I even went in the military. 19 years. Who was that? So I can't really use PTSD to sum up who I am in a sense. So the point of all that is there are boxes that we use to identify ourselves.
Yeah.
But there is also a you that exists outside of every one of those boxes.
Sure.
That's the space I'm talking about. That's the oneness. That's before you allow yourself to believe any of the stories based on your identifications. You know that you're love and you're light. Period. That is what you were formed from. That's your default setting. Innate well-being. That's your default. That's where you're supposed to rest on. That's where the dial sits, very calibrated. And then as you grow up, society will turn the dial a little because of where you grew up. Society will turn the dial a little based on your sexual preferences. Society will turn the dial a little based on your social class, your socioeconomic status. They'll turn it a little bit more based on your political beliefs. They'll turn a little bit more based on your marital status and all of those things. And then you start learning how all those boxes work, and your identity gets trapped in that. And you never look back at who you really are. You never look back at who you really are. And this space I'm talking about is never forgetting that before you choose to identify, you're light and love. So whatever you identify as, Black, Hispanic, white, German, whatever you identify as, what does that identification looks like if it's coming out or being demonstrated in light and love? What does it look like? Yeah. What does it look like that a veteran who has had some traumatic instances and seen things in combat, if he expresses it through light and love? What does it look like? What does it look like if whatever political affiliation you have communicated with the other side or the opposite side in light and love instead of in judgment? How do you know you're in that space? Because you're not judging the person in front of you nor yourself. How do you know in that space? Because you're pretty forgiving to yourself about the choices you made, which you may not be happy about. How you're in that space when you're not bringing the weight of something that you physically already made it through to the party. It's kind of like waking up every day and deciding not to change your clothes, but to just put clothes on top of the ones you had on the day before. It's only going to last so long. Like on Monday, you put on clothes. Well, on Tuesday, you just put your clothes on top of that. And then on Wednesday, you put your clothes on top of that. And then, like by Friday, you're not going to be able to move. So you keep adding all of these experiences on top of another, on top of another, on top of another, and mentally you're overwhelmed.
Totally.
Change your mind just like you change your clothes. Put it off, take it off at the end of the day, and put it on in the morning when it's time for you to get going. Or if you're at a nudist camp, you ain't got to put it on all together. You can just flow, you know. So yeah, man, it's really playing this game of life by the rules you want, not plagiarizing your definition of success, and not forging your vision board.
Yeah.
Create yours.
Yeah, exactly. And like reflect on like who drew your vision board at the first place.
Yeah. Who drew it? Was it everybody else?
The last time too. I love that so much. Who drew your vision board?
I it's so funny because I used to have a Lamborghini on my vision board a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And I got an opportunity to drive one, and it sucked for me because of my height and because of how tall I am. It really was not a good ride at all.
Yeah.
But I had it on my vision board. And it was like the only reason it was there because everybody else told me it was the best car ever.
Yeah.
But when I got the experience of it, it wasn't that. It wasn't a good feel for me. Doesn't mean it's not a good car.
Yeah, but it's not.
Doesn't mean, it never should have been on my vision board.
Oh. Yeah, I think that's so powerful. And just because every coach you see in the YouTube ad tells you the 6-figure business doesn't need that. Maybe you don't need a 6-figure business at all. Huh?
Well, it's funny because
you have more fun with it if you don't have it. Who knows? Or like as a musician, a lot of people think they're only successful if they play a certain amount of gigs in a certain amount of countries on a certain amount of festivals every year. And most people who have done that in a very heavy way and have been touring like crazy for years, they don't want to do that anymore because it's crazy.
Yeah,
absolutely. Your body and everything. So yeah, I think it's super powerful to reflect on the things that you put on your vision board and think about: is this actually coming from me, or is it coming from somebody else?
Yeah.
And I just think, I just make it up in my mind that this is something I need, or that I'm striving for.
I mean, even I don't have a board up now. I don't even have one anymore. It's funny because the more and more I tend to live by this set of rules for myself or the understanding, all my goals are also written in either pencil or a dry erase marker. And what I mean by that is there's things I want to do and I'll write it on the board up there. And then I'll go about life, and sometimes whether it's a car accident, whether it's a family situation, whatever, I look back at the board after a couple of weeks and haven't done anything on it. Doesn't mean that goal isn't still important to me. It was just whatever life had yielded to me seemed to be a little bit more important. And then I'm looking at the date on it like, oh my God, I got 1 week. And now I'm trying to cram in all of what it was supposed to take to get it. And then it didn't come out like I wanted. Then I'd be all pissed about that, right? So now it's like, I'll write it up on the board. It's supposed to be done by 1 July. Life happens. It's not done by 1 July. Write a new date. I created the date in the first place. I could just write a new date. It's like, it's my timetable. Yeah. Why would I use it to beat myself up? Like, oh, I got to do this many places this time. Why? It's your timetable. Where are you in a rush to get to? because there's actually nowhere to go. You know, I've talked to coaches who have highly figured businesses that didn't even have a website and social media. Didn't even have one.
Yeah.
I know a coach who had a wait list before he ever had a website. Like, okay, that's different. How you do that? You know, how does that work? You know, because it takes a lot to build a website. So I'm figuring, you know, like, how did that work? But he's like, I build relationships. And I never stop doing what I do, which is coach people. And that spreads. And it was like, huh, okay, I'm a coach. I'm not a marketer. I'm not a social media expert. You know, I'm a coach. So I coach. Hopefully I could show you a picture into it. Hopefully I can get you a glimpse through social media into it. But I'm a coach. That's what I'm going to spend my time doing. And being a coach has me in conversations, and conversation seems to open up my awareness about others.
Yeah.
Coincidentally, when people see what I put out, they see my openness. Kind of works hand in hand from that point. But being stuck in trying to do it, as everybody has said, got a niche, got to find a niche. Okay, well, I want to talk to anybody who's living. That's my niche. If you're living, if you're a human being, what I got to say works for you. That's my niche. Oh, you got to have, you know, social media, and you got to post this many times. And, well, I have social media, and I'm going to post when I feel like it. And then they show me there's these things where it can set up your post for you automatically. Oh, that's even better then. Like, I'll let that do it, right? The picture is me, the story is me, but the automatic reverse, that's the program. And I'm back to discussions. I'm back to filling my calendar, trying to meet as many people as possible. Yeah. I'm back trying to talk to people so far different than me that would not be in my, you know, my so-called immediate circle or sector, to learn more about people. Period. That's how I grow my business. Building relationships. Everything else falls into line after that.
I love that. Yeah, same here. And you know, this understanding about building a business also changed and is changing what I'm doing in music, because also music is a people's business.
Yeah.
And also in music, it's important to put the focus on your craft, make like being a great musician, and it's also about going out there and talk about it and show people and give them an experience, and all the things that are that also hold true in the way you just shared how you build your business. And there might come a place where social media is important, or the website is important, and it can elevate what you already built. But you have to
yes.
At least if you want to be in the conversation for more than
a one hit or one coaching session. Yes. It's funny because I wonder. I don't know if anybody's ever happened to, but I wish there was a survey out there or somewhere you can poll coaches who work so hard on getting their social media out and getting their website out and having all their fixed rates and things like that. And they got a high ticket client and just didn't know what the hell to do at that point because they had never coached. You know, other than their certification course, they didn't have enough conversations. Yeah. And then they get this client and it doesn't go like they want. I just wonder what the experience of that, what they think from that, and how does that work? You know, because that would be just my biggest fear of chasing it that way, is that there's something in every conversation I have, there's something in every moment that I live that I'm there, I can learn. And the more I do that, I prepare myself as best as I can be for anything. is just by learning at every point that I can learn. That makes it easier for me to deal with my clients. It doesn't make me anxious when I deal with them, because it's their life. It doesn't make me feel the need to cramp them, force them, manipulate them, make them feel like shit to get them to do what I want. But like none of that. None of that just seems like the way I want to do business, you know. Definitely doesn't start as an expression of love and light, because that's only trying to prove to yourself you're a good coach. That's not trying to take care of the client. So yeah, I just look at it a little bit different than some, man.
I love that. And if somebody resonates with this and wants to get in contact with you, what's the best way to do that?
You can go to speaking of websites, you can go to my website. I do have one. I'm Rob Cook. That's IMROBCOOK.com. You'll see up there be unFIT, and it has all the links to the different ways you can connect with me from there.
Yeah.
I am on social media on Instagram and Facebook again as I'm Rob Cook. And you can find me there.
Awesome. I also will put the links to that in the show notes or in the YouTube video info. So yeah, people have an easy time if they want to connect with you, which I highly recommend.
I appreciate that, man.
Yeah. Awesome. Nice one. And yeah, we see or hear us in the next conversation. Take care.